Hi! Sometimes a dashboard in Power BI can start to look slightly off. Often it's due to inconsistency in alignment, sizing or spacing. In this video, I'll walk through 5 things that are making this dashboard look less professional than it could be. I won't go deep on every topic, but I'll show you a few things to watch out for. Let's start with alignment. When visuals are neatly aligned, users tend to trust the dashboard more. It looks intentional and professional. More importantly, when visuals are arranged in a clear grid or row, the brain can process the information faster. The first thing I would like to fix is this card visual at the top. It should be centered across the page, and there are a couple of ways to do this. I can drag it manually until the smart guidelines appear showing the center of the screen, or the easier option is to select the visual, go to Format, then select Align and choose Align Center. Next, I have a donut chart with a card visual sitting underneath it. I would like the text in the card to be in the center of the donut. To do that, I need to select both visuals. Again, there are a couple of ways you can do this. You can drag a selection box across both, or click one visual, go to the Format pane, click Selection to open the selection pane, select the donut, then hold down Shift and select the card. With both selected, go to Format, click the drop down next to Align and choose to align center to center them horizontally across the page. Then choose Align Middle to center them vertically. Note that despite the alignment, the text in the card isn't quite sitting in the middle of the donut. It's centered horizontally, but not vertically. The reason for this is that the alignment is based on the bounding box of the donut visual, not the actual circle drawn inside it. To fix this, I'll select the donut and use the red grid lines to keep it centered, then nudge it up slightly until the positioning looks correct. Once that's done, I want to make sure that these two visuals move together. To group them, select them both by drawing a box around them. Then right-click and choose Group, Group. Now if you move one diagram, the other diagram moves with it. One thing worth noting, when visuals occupy the same space on the page, there are a few extra things to consider before grouping, including the order of layers. I'll come back to that in a moment, but I do cover grouping in more detail in a separate video, the link to which is in the description below. This brings me on to layers. Layers impact the order in which items are stacked on a page. If you open the selection pane, the item at the top of the list is on the top of the stack, with each item then on the next layer down, such that the item at the bottom, if I flip my hands around to say this is at the front, the bottom one is at the back. Layer order matters for 2 reasons: visibility and interactivity. In the middle row, if you look at the second visual, this column chart is sitting slightly on top of the column chart next to it. And if I click on it, you can see it's also overlapping the top of the sales matrix below it. That overlap is a problem because it means users can't click on the hierarchy buttons or the focus buttons of the matrix. They're covered by the bottom edge of the chart. You could fix this by changing the layer order by moving the matrix to sit above the chart in the selection pane. But in this case, I don't want the visuals to overlap at all, so I'm going to move them so that they each have their own space on the page. I'm going to add borders to the visuals in this middle section just to make the next steps easier to explain. This isn't a design recommendation, just a visual aid for the purposes of this video. Now I'll take all three visuals in the middle row and align the tops so that they all sit in a straight line. Once I do that, something else becomes obvious. The visuals are not all the same size, and that's what I'll look at next. Consistent sizing makes a dashboard look more professional, and when visuals are all to the same scale, it makes it easier for users to compare information across different charts. To resize, you can drag the edge of a visual and use the red smart guidelines to match them up. But if you would like to be more precise, then click a visual, go to the visualizations pane, then in General, in Properties, you can set the exact width and height values there, and you can do this for each visual to make sure they match exactly. Now onto spacing. Consistent spacing helps users read across a dashboard more easily. That includes spacing between visuals, but also the spacing between elements within a visual. Now that the column charts are the same size, I can see that the chart titles aren't sitting at the same height inside their boxes. One title appears slightly higher than the other. And that's because the padding between the border and the top of the title is different in each visual. If I go to Properties and look at padding, I can see that the padding is set to 5. If I click on the other diagram, I can see that the padding is set to 0. To make them the same, all I need to do is adjust the padding, so I will adjust the padding on this one to 5 pixels. Next, I'll look at the horizontal spacing across the middle row. I would like the centre chart to sit in the middle of the page, with the other two charts being the same distance away from the middle chart. There are several ways to approach this, and at the time of recording, none of them are perfect. I'll show you one approach here, but if you would like pixel perfect spacing, I've covered another method in a separate video, a link to which is in the description below. For this example, I'll use the Align Center option we used earlier to center the middle chart on the page. So again, in Format, Align Center. Then I'll go to View and turn on Grid Lines. Not my preferred tool, as the dots can be hard to count, but they'll work for this example. I'll now grab the donut visual and move it until there are 3 dots between it and the centre chart. Then I'll do the same with the other chart on the other side. Finally, the sales matrix. When you expand the rows in the matrix, there isn't enough room on the page to show the data without the user having to scroll. You could make the visual larger, but that's still not a great experience, as it still involves quite a bit of scrolling. My recommendation here is to remove the matrix from this page entirely. If users require that level of detail, the matrix is then better suited to a dedicated page where it has the space to expand properly. Removing it also declutters the page and lets the other visuals, which are doing the job of summarising the figures, take centre stage. Now that I've removed the sales matrix, I'm going to move the position of the charts in the middle slightly further down the page, just to give them more space from the card at the top of the page. So to recap, the 5 things we looked at in this video were: alignment, layers, sizing, spacing and padding, and removing charts which feel squashed or perhaps belong to another page. Please check out my other videos where I go into some of the topics mentioned in this video in more detail. The links to the videos are in the description below. There is a lot more that goes into a professional dashboard. For example, colour consistency, fonts, accessibility, use of themes, how you structure the layout to help a reader scan a page, but these are topics for other videos. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please give it a like and click the subscribe button for more Power BI tutorials. Thanks for watching.